PC Perspective's coverage of the 2013 Consumer Electronics Show is brought to you by AMD and the second generation A-Series APUs. Hey everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective podcast. This is the special editions from CES. We didn't record a day zero.
No.
So this will be
the files got lost, remember?
Yeah, malfunction.
Because there was so much we saw that day.
We saw a football game.
Airports.
On TV.
Yeah.
Wings.
We saw Lenovo stuff, but we wouldn't have been allowed to talk about it until today anyway.
Correct.
So let's. It's day one. It's technically what Sunday. It's technically Monday, but we're covering Sunday. What did we see today? I guess most of the stuff that we're going to talk about is Lenovo stuff. A lot of it, at least. We'll go over it quickly.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, there was a whole bunch of Lenovo stuff that got announced.
Yeah.
Like what?
The table.
Yeah,
Oh,
the table. The Idea Center Horizon.
The Horizon. That is a 27.
Sounds like a ship.
Let me get to my list here. 27-inch 1080p display, which is maybe a little bit on the small side for resolution. I guess for a tabletop PC, it's not really that big a deal.
No, because you're not doing a lot of graphic work and photography on something.
That's what you think.
Although
are playing Monopoly.
It did have the motorized convertible, and it flipped up and had a keyboard as if you would.
Well, that was a prototype of what you would build a table out of.
Yeah.
Right.
The computer itself.
But it still has a desktop mode.
Yeah, so you can still use it as a desktop. It's a 27-inch screen that is an all-in-one PC that can fold down flat, and then it has a 10-point touch screen on it.
Well,
so the idea is that is a multiple-user touchscreen computer.
When you fold it down, it goes from the full Windows 8 UI to a special Lenovo touch
Called
optimized.
Aura.
Yeah,
Called Aura. Which I don't have a lot of faith in that kind of stuff.
No, I mean, it looks like it might be all right. It kind of looks like a Surface ripoff.
I don't know.
Original Surface.
It all depends on, there's a lot of questions in that. So you have to maintain that user interface. There's all the application issue. They're going to have their own app store. I don't think we need another app store, especially one from
I think their app store already exists.
Really?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't know.
Maybe it's a China thing.
Yeah, it just, I don't know. Everybody wants to have their own, and they really should just promote applications that are, used for that. I think the idea of playing Monopoly or Risk or something like that on a smart table, like a coffee table, is actually pretty cool.
It is. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot more interactive because you're actually sitting across from somebody. Right. And interacting with them and talking smack instead of just, wearing headphones and kind of hearing a disembodied voice come over and say how much they're just going to want to teabag your armies in Eurasia.
Right. One of those was a region. Where is the teabag thing on the...
Probably Kamchatka.
You can't win without Kamchatka.
No.
You can't.
So we have news posts up now. We actually have a video walkthrough with them as well, kind of giving some demonstration of the gaming accessories, the joystick.
I just want the e-dice.
The e-dice.
I don't know why.
Cool.
I just want it.
I like to roll my dice.
That's how I roll.
Other things, they had the Eraser X700 desktop PC. Nothing super special here. I don't know if this is the first time Lenovo tried to do a gaming PC or first time in recent memory. Except that they mentioned up to dual Radeon HD 8950 3GB graphics. 8950.
That would be an unreleased part.
Yeah. So it's either a typo. Nobody at AMD would verify, which means it's not. But this system's not supposed to be out until June.
You mean we could see new graphics cards this year?
It's an appropriate time frame, I would assume.
I'd imagine AMD would rather they had not mentioned it. Let's touch on the other Lenovo things. Some Lenovo was it? ThinkPads E431, E531 have a new one-link connection, which is actually turns out to be the dock connection that's usually on the bottom of ThinkPads, moved to the side so that you can charge it, have NAS devices, have Ethernet, have video,
so that you can rebuy all of your docks again.
Yeah, I guess a little bit. I mean, so the idea is, it's kind of cool. You have this dock sitting on your desk,
Yeah.
that you can disconnect. But I guess you could do that when the dock connector was on the bottom.
Yeah.
Already, nothing really changes. I thought this was going to be more than it turned out to be, like a Thunderbolt-based type of connection or something. But Thunderbolt won't move power to that degree anyway.
No.
So,
Just a lot of pins.
yeah, a lot of pins. They had a touch mobile monitor that they announced as well. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's USB 3.0, right?
They had, I guess, I don't know if they
wireless
announced the
one
other
as well.
Yeah, they had a wireless one that was going to be out later, but this was USB 3, 16:9, IPS,
Touchscreen.
touchscreen.
It seemed like a really nice display. It's way too much money.
200 was
$350 for the touch one.
right, 250 for the non-touch.
Yeah, I mean, I would. It's a form factor that I might think of because my desktop obviously isn't touch enabled, and maybe kind of cool to have some of the Windows 8 stuff, but not for that money.
Well, yeah, but it's already got a video adapter based in it already because it's not, like you're cooking it up to a DVI port or an HDMI.
Yeah, but I mean,
USB 3.0. Plug it into anything.
Yeah, you could, but it's a lot of money for a 10-inch touchscreen, a 10-inch panel.
True.
I mean,
Business.
You get 10-inch devices.
Exactly.
You get 10-inch devices for that.
Yeah,
amount of money.
what's a Nexus 10 cost?
And didn't they show you how you could actually kind of use it as a kind of the Wacom pen?
Yeah, it does have
type.
a digitizer pen, which is really nice.
Yeah.
I think all of their touch stuff had digitizer pens,
Most of it did,
which is
yeah,
a pretty
not
good
all of
step,
it.
I think.
Yeah.
We saw the Yoga. So we did a preview of the Yoga 13. The Yoga 11 already existed as a Tegra 3 based Windows RT device, and now they're going to come out with the Yoga 11S, which is actually a Core i5 based version of the Yoga. So the same form factors.
It's an Ultrabook.
It is an Ultrabook. And it has 4 different modes. We've all talked about what the Yoga can do. It's just now you can get the smaller version with an x86 processor as opposed to getting a Tegra processor.
That's kind of cool. I use an 11.6-inch Ultrabook, my MacBook Air.
Still worried about
I
battery
like the
life.
form factor.
Yeah.
Don't like the battery life, but maybe this will be a little better.
The cooler convertible Ultrabook that we saw was the ThinkPad Helix with a quote-unquote rip and flip design, which was actually turned out to be pretty cool, I think, in how it works. It's a tablet that sits on a hinge, kind of like a keyboard dock. The same deal. There's battery in the dock. There's battery in the tablet, but it is an x86 up to Core i7, 8 gigs of memory, 256 gig SSD tablet with 2 USB 3 ports, that kind of stuff. So there's a decent, there's some connectivity to it, not much more than that. But it had a pretty cool design on how it worked. You can take the tablet off, flip it around, turn it the other way, so you could do display mode or you could do media mode or whatever they called it. So that was pretty cool too. Lenovo had a lot of stuff.
Well, one of the cool things with that is I was just talking about battery life on Ultrabooks kind of being my main hurdle. But for the tablet alone, it seems like they've built in the same size battery that they do on regular Ultrabooks because they were quoting about 6 hours. And then when you dock it in the keyboard, you get another 4, they were saying.
Okay.
So that may be a better battery life solution.
I just don't believe any of their battery numbers.
Yeah.
It was 5 from the tablet and 3 from the.
No,
It
it
was
was 6 and 4.
6 and 4.
That's what they said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those uranium plugs in the base unit, they're going to give you a little bit more power.
Good.
Yeah, a little more.
I'm a little worried about, with that's what happens with a lot of these tablets that have docks, is they become very top heavy.
Yeah,
very
that one
easy to
didn't.
flip
That one
over.
didn't seem too bad. I don't know. I don't know if I'd like to use
Like
that as my everyday
Asus
machine.
Vivo Tab RT was like that.
Yes,
It's very top
definitely.
heavy.
But they brought the tablet portion, the screen, and whatever you call it, up a little forward. That helped.
So it's not on
the center of
on that
gravity.
edge, yeah. They had a lot of cool stuff. PCPro.com/CES. You can go see all those posts. Vizio announced a Windows 8 tablet using an AMD processor. The AMD Z60. It's a 1 gigahertz SoC, 64 gig SSD. Do we know anything about the AMD Z60? I can't offhand.
It's Bobcat based,
Okay.
and so it's just lower power bin. And again, it runs at 1 gigahertz, and probably the graphics portion, obviously doesn't run as fast either, but it still be fairly snappy.
Right.
But you're looking around 5 to 8 watts, I believe.
Nice.
So, do we think this is a smart move because it'll be really cheap or really good battery life? Or maybe both?
I think they're cheap.
Nothing wrong with that. We could use some cheap Windows 8 tablets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what their press conference is tomorrow, and we have a meeting with them on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're going to try to sell us on whatever their pitch is, right? If it's performance per watt, if it's low cost, performance per dollar, then we'll get all those types of answers on that. But there's something there announced for them today. Other cool stuff we saw. We saw a consumerized version of a fuel cell, and what's interesting about this is that it is one of the first, if not the first, fuel cells to use a silicon-based membrane solution for converting it.
It's essentially, it looks like it's a physical guide to just, it takes the butane, which it runs on, and it converts it into water and CO2, and in so doing, they convert, that change into actual electricity, like usual fuel cells do.
Right.
But unlike traditional designs that have, a large stack of the membranes and just, pushing the gas through, it seems it's a little different with a single kind of silicon chip. But again, I don't know what the other modern fuel cell devices are made of. But as far as I know, this is a unique design.
I don't have a lot of background on all that kind of on fuel cells in general. So we did a really quick video with Moley. What was his last name? I don't know, Moley, who's one of the founders of the company. Interestingly, Intel is manufacturing the chips on 200 millimeter fab. So it's good to know that somebody with that kind of money is investing in it. But we're gonna maybe meet up with him tomorrow at PepCom Digital Experience and have you and Alan that have a little bit more knowledge on that kind of stuff. Maybe ask him some more interesting questions that we came up while we were talking later this evening. So that could be interesting. It's really cool to see that. I mean, we didn't even say like the specs on it. You're getting essentially it's a butane cartridge that goes on a device that plugs into has a USB port on it, so you can charge any USB device that you would normally have access to, and it's 55,000 milliwatt hours, which is apparently charging an iPhone every night for 2 weeks on a little canister of butane.
Yeah, which they said would be about what?
$10.
$10
for refills. So you never recharge it necessarily. You have to buy extra packages for it.
And then this is Brookstone.
It's going to be sold exclusively at Brookstone.
Yeah.
It kind of sucks.
Yeah, well, they probably invested a little bit of money in it too. Could be like the Sharper Image and the Ionic Air Cleaners.
Oh dear. Don't jinx it like that.
I don't think this is pseudoscience.
So check out that video, and we'll see if we can get a hold of them tomorrow or later this week to get some more information on it. Alan, you went to Storage Visions.
I did.
And got to talk with Fusion IO. They had a couple of new things they showed, right?
Well, I'm not sure how new they are, but IO Drive 2, IO Drive 2 Duo, and IOFX. So IOFX is sort of the newer version of the IO Extreme.
Okay.
Of which we looked at way back when, like over a year ago, actually. IO Drive 2 is just next iteration of the IO Drive. All these drives now are using MLC. It's just different versions or different enterprise grade or whatnot. The IOFX is supposed to be more of the consumer-ish, but it's really more like workstation, graphics user sort of thing, like something we might use for rendering podcast video.
People capturing 2560 by 1600 uncompressed video.
Something like that, actually.
Weird.
Yeah, actually, to give an example of the IOFX speed, they had a pair of them ganged together, and it was outputting 3 gigabytes per second.
I like it.
And they were running that NVIDIA, I don't know if you know what it is, there's an NVIDIA demo that shows multiple streams simultaneously, multiple videos. like in a little rotating little whatever
Sure.
you want to call it, right? Well, they were running that demo, but they were running it with uncompressed, like 12 uncompressed video streams simultaneously. So that was pretty cool. And their capacities are much higher now for all these devices. So like where the original I/O drive was like 160 gig if you were lucky for something like that, and now they're up to 1.2 terabytes on that, and like the octal, which I still have yet to see in person, is up to 10 terabytes. That's like an Nvidia GPU sized card with a bunch of flash memory just crammed in there. But
I want one.
yeah, that's pretty darn good.
It'd be about $100,000, but
I think that's a little bowling it.
Yeah, they also reworked their interface, like their driver interface,
Software
GUI
and all that.
kind of stuff.
can they boot?
I was just going to ask that.
So with UEFI, they can. It has to be UEFI.
That seems like a cop-out.
No, it's because their driver has always been too much for like your standard BIOS to handle. You can't really switch over to protected mode and just pull that stuff off with their driver, because the driver does more than your typical storage device driver. But with UEFI, they say that they can. Their first push is going to be to do it on like the Dell workstations, and like they're basically going to certify it on certain boards, because not all UEFI BIOSes are created equal.
Yeah.
But the guy I was talking to is pretty sure that like once they get it going on those, if it's compatible with that, chances are it's going to be compatible with most consumer grade, even UEFI implementations. So that'll be pretty cool, and it is bootable, and they're or will be hopefully, and their interface, they changed it around for their driver interface. So basically they have this driver, you install it, and then you can do all this management and like firmware updates and everything through this interface, and you can also look at all the specs for like how fast the card's doing stuff and everything. Well, everything looks the same with that interface now, except it's HTTP GUI based. So you connect to it through your browser, but you can also, if you're an admin and you have like racks full of these things, you can connect to multiple of them through the GUI and push out firmwares and do changes on the fly to like whole, dozens.
So enterprise class tools at this point.
Right, but it's the same exact tool. Even if you were one end user who bought one of these cards, you're installing the same tool as the guy that has 200 of them in a rack. Basically, it's the same interface. It's really simple, real easy to use, and it scales pretty well.
Cool.
Yep.
Anything else at Storage Visions that we should note?
There was the Panasonic, kind of a cool archival storage thing. That, what was it, 108 terabytes worth of Blu-ray discs all crammed into a 6U chassis.
Am I the only one that thinks that sounds like a recipe for disaster?
It's meant for archival. It's meant to like, that's going to replace like a tape
Surprising
backup.
that Panasonic built it.
Like,
Because they were one of the big wigs for Blu-ray, pushing Blu-ray, right?
I was being
facetious.
Well, yeah, but I don't know. I
This
think
is obviously not a Toshiba.
no.
true.
HD DVD. They got to use something for those discs.
So,
But I think it's kind of cool because there's 2 drawers full of these, whatever you want to call it. They're cartridges and stacks of Blu-ray discs. There's like 12 Blu-ray discs in one cartridge. There's like, I don't know how many cartridges in the stack.
Right.
Like 6U high worth of those cartridges. And then from what I could tell, there's either 6 or 12 Blu-ray drives on the back end of this thing. So it grabs a cartridge and it throws, say, half of the 12 discs into 6 of those drives.
Yeah.
And then it has the capability of reading them ganged together as if it was RAID.
that's pretty awesome.
So this is, they could do RAID 5 or 6. Disc level.
Wow.
RAID 5 or 6. So because you're reading from the discs at the same time on multiple drives, meant to be as a set, that's something you can't pull off with any kind of a disk backup on your own. You'd have to have some kind of device that mounts them simultaneously to do a RAID implementation over optical.
So it's Kenwood done right.
Sort of. Yeah.
Let's not get into that one.
But it's spanning disks. So if you have one disk fail and you did RAID 5, you're covered, right? Or if you just had single sectors go bad, you're covered.
Yeah.
From the other disks.
So
Weird.
what do we
It is
know?
weird, but it's meant for archiving. right? You're trying to archive a bunch of data. You don't need immediate random access to it. You know.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Parity is nice.
And parity is nice to have for something like that, and this give you parity, like 1 or 2 layer of parity, and it's you can have pseudo sort of random access. You have better random access than you could with tape backup, and you actually get parity out of it, which you don't get on tape backup. You lose a tape out of a tape backup, you just lost.
Yeah.
You know, with the way tape works, most of the time, you just lost the whole backup potentially.
So what do we know about the shelf life of Blu-rays?
Blu-rays are supposed to have pretty good shelf life as long as you handle them properly.
Which is probably
if they're all in
designed
this-
to help.
Your hands all over them and greasy and stuff.
Well, yeah, there's that. And as long as these,
I just
Not
use them as
1,000-year granite discs, but
no,
maybe 15 to 20.
but it's better. Well, it's first of all, it's better shelf life than solid state, actually,
really.
because the rating of solid state is meant for 10-year shelf life.
We'll have to go into that one day.
It is.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
get
not
how
for
that-
here.
It's only a charge in an insulated thing.
Yeah, okay.
And eventually
fair
the
enough.
charge
yeah.
goes
It,
away.
it does
Yeah.
leak, right? So
Wow. Never would have thought about that.
no, it does. Yeah. So it's better than it would be better than solid state. I don't know about magnetic media,
But
hard drives.
Yeah.
Hard drives, they
Well,
hate those particles, high-speed particles coming from outer space.
I hate them.
Well, is it the issue with hard drives for archival, the mechanics of the drive, not necessarily
Right.
the magnetic media?
As is that, but those Blu-ray drives, if they fail, well, you still have the discs.
Yeah.
So you pull out the cartridges, you stick them in a different device. Now you can read it. You're locked into having a device like that if it's doing a RAID.
Yeah.
Obviously, you'd need the same kind of
Yeah.
hardware to read it.
All right. Anything else? Is that good?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. We're gonna have a short episode here, both because we're all just exhausted, and we didn't have that many individual meetings. The biggest news probably came from the Nvidia press conference that was tonight, and they really talked about 3 key things. They talked about Nvidia Grid, which is they're now they talked about it little while ago, and it's their cloud gaming technology, and now they are actually going to produce and sell an entire infrastructure for server hardware. So if you go to the PCPro.com and you look for the story on it that Scott posted up earlier this evening, you'll see an Nvidia server that, in terms of rack mount machines go, looks pretty nice.
Looks nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody cares because it's going to be sitting in a rack behind a locked door.
But your rack will be glowing green.
That's right.
Well, for those listening on audio, it's just a 2U chassis.
Yeah.
That's crammed full of 16 high-end GPUs at least.
Yeah, I counted 16, I think.
That was
there's
one
16.
layer. There might have been another.
I don't
Maybe.
think so. I mean, not
You
if
don't
you're
think
if you're
so?
gonna have 16 GPUs and cool them, and 2 processors and cool them. I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Either way, 16
that's-
is a lot to cram into
It
a
is.
2U
Yeah.
chassis.
So they said they had to redesign a GPU. They didn't mention anything about the specs of that GPU or anything like that. But it's 16 GPUs in a single 2U system that allows them to support 24 players per server.
Yeah, that's the number
Something
they're
like that.
going with
I
at this
don't really know.
point.
I don't know.
Well, no, 1 to 24. 1 GPU to 24, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I think they were going for.
I think it was 24
servers
per
per-
physical
Okay.
2U box.
Yeah.
Which there's some virtualization
don't know
going
how that works.
on there.
Yeah.
That's not that wasn't really that new.
They gave it a name.
Yeah, they gave it a name and it looked snazzy.
Well,
and
it was
they
always
packaged
called
it.
Nvidia Grid.
Was it?
Yeah.
I didn't.
But
remember
it was
if they
a
gave
it was a
name.
technology that they were talking about, not necessarily a product.
Partnering with Gaikai. Oh,
Right. The second thing they announced was Tegra 4.
Yeah.
Not a surprise. They played up on that. Tegra 4 is a 72 GPU core quad core
A15. They didn't say how
Well, it had-
fast or anything it was going, but
It's still quad core with that mystery 5th core thing.
yeah,
Right.
4+1.
The +1. Yeah, whatever.
It's weird.
More interesting was that radio.
Well, the Icera modem that the i500, I think.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
they're
it's the
coming out.
500. Yeah.
It's a total software-based modem rather than having a bunch of fixed function units. It's got 8 modem type core. I don't know, very general purpose cores that put out some 1.5 trillion operations a second.
And by modem, we're talking about like your cell phone radio.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So it's pretty impressive for what it does. I mean, it has a limited amount of things that it can do, obviously, but it's programmable. It's about what they said, some 40% smaller than a typical modem because they ripped out all the fixed function stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see if that takes off and how robust it is and how programmable, and if you can do fun things like with one radio you could go from CDMA to GSM and back again and not have to worry about where you are in the world.
And since they announced this, that they're sampling this, we'll presumably see it with Tegra 4 devices, and Nvidia will finally get LTE support, which they've been desperately needing.
Yeah.
True.
So they haven't had modem qualification for LTE yet, really. And that's been holding them back for design wins, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think
and it's faster.
Well, Icera, I mean, they've used the Tegra 4 with other 4G LTE modems.
Tegra 3.
It at least
Tegra
took
2,
it at least took a while, because there was a time period there where it was not supported.
It was not possible to use Tegra 3 with LTE.
This thing's going to be kind of hairy with the FCC certification, though, isn't it?
Because
Because it's not a fixed
Yeah, they'll
radio.
qualify the hardware,
Yeah,
but
but because
every
it can
time you change the
change.
firmware, you've changed the radio, and it's a different radio.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, the individual devices have to be qualified anyway, so I guess that would be part of that.
Yeah.
Just be qualifying the baseband.
Speaking of which, has that even popped up on any FCC? Because that's how you find out that the cell phones are coming out with whatever, because it pops up on the FCC.
Well, they
qualification
didn't.
thing.
They didn't give us any kind of time frame for this.
Oh,
They
great.
only-
Somebody just jailbroke the modem, and they're causing havoc throughout New York City.
That could happen.
Alan's kicking everybody off the Wi-Fi.
Exactly.
they didn't talk about it, and the only thing that they've publicly said, I guess, is that there will be Tegra 4 products shipping this year,
Yeah.
which is a long time.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's 12
Tegra
months.
4 products.
Almost 12 months.
Tegra 4 products such as
The next product we're going to talk about, how's it called?
Shield.
Nvidia
That's such a
Shield.
bad name.
It's not that bad. I mean, it's this thing.
It's not a good name.
So Nvidia Shield is a portable gaming device based on Tegra 4.
And Android.
And Android. Pure Android, they said, which is good. So the idea here is that you have an Android OS Tegra 4 powered mobile system that has all access to all the Android apps you would use. It is more or less shaped like an Xbox controller. It's shaped like a console controller with a screen on it.
With a flip top
With a
lid.
flip top lid
And
that
it's
has a
touch
5-inch LCD touchscreen, 720p, and
And on the back is what?
USB port,
USB?
HDMI
Oh, right.
port.
HDMI and,
audio
and a headphone
SD
out,
card.
Yeah.
and a micro SD.
Micro SD, HDMI, USB, and then audio.
okay.
Yep.
So the idea here is they're saying, "Hey, look, we have a gaming device now that has we haven't been able to pick one up yet. We'll be able to do that tomorrow, so we'll be able to report back more then. You pick it up. It has 2 analog sticks. It has triggers. It has buttons like a game controller, game console controller.
The exact same ABXY layout as a 360 controller. Imagine that.
Okay. Well, I mean that's
It's supported in games.
And the first thing they demoed with it was, okay, here's some Android games, but now you have a controller integrated with it, and it has a little screen, and that's fine.
You can hook that to your television.
You can hook it to your television,
Android
and you can
games.
stream it wirelessly or wired, right? Well, no. I guess
Not
they
wirelessly yet.
No. Not
They
wirelessly.
demoed wired.
Yeah.
But in theory, wirelessly as well.
Yeah, wireless is probably just DLNA or Miracast support. No real
Yeah.
big deal.
Right.
So, but then the interesting thing about it was the thing that maybe makes it a compelling product is the capability to stream your PC game. So if in your den or your office you have a system running a GTX 670 or 680 or something like that, you can stream it to your Nvidia Shield console handheld system.
So it pulls up like your Steam stuff.
It can pull up Steam, the big picture mode on your screen, and then you interact with it, and either with the buttons or with the touch screen, and you can play games. So they showed Assassin's Creed 3 playing on this device. They showed Need for Speed Most Wanted playing on this device, and then you can do all your other media functionality too. Anything you can do with Android, and so that's actually kind of cool, because now you can be anywhere in your house. And they were HDMI connected to the TV again.
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Yep.
So
So it's sort of like
It was wireless from the.
it's wireless from the PC to the game console to the Shield.
Well,
It had to be
uses
because
Wi-Fi.
there's no Ethernet.
he said he hooked Ethernet up to it, but that's probably just a dev thing.
Yeah. For the
Well, I think he said it was because of all the interference in the room, right?
Yeah.
But so it's Wi-Fi in your house. You could be sitting on your couch and play Assassin's Creed 3.
Yeah,
High
basically-
quality.
That's an awesome concept.
It's like
It is.
it's like cloud gaming, except you're not doing it through the cloud. Your own PC
Well, it's
is.
I considered it. When I was talking about it before, I was like, this is like your personal cloud gaming, right?
Right.
This is something you get.
Yeah.
And what I wanted something a little bit, maybe a little bit different, but they could still do it where you have a GTX SLI rig in your closet, and then you have 4 PCs throughout your house, and everybody can play a game on it because you have more than enough graphics horsepower to do that.
Instantly
So you know,
party.
this actually one-ups the heck out of Gaikai or OnLive or any of those, because you would have to buy the game again to play it,
Unless
In
you
theory.
any of those,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If you like for your existing library to
Yeah,
go over something
you would
like
have to
that.
buy it
Yeah.
again. Now, this game's already on your PC. You already bought it. You just fire it up.
And with the whole Nvidia Grid thing, they were talking about cloud saves, basically, where it would save your state.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did do that.
So if you're not running it through your
on the Windows
PC,
game,
that
they
was-
talked
that was
about it on
Grid.
the Android.
No, that was when they were
that was
demoing
Grid.
it,
That was Grid.
not
Grid.
on your local network.
Yeah,
That
but
was when they
was
showed
their-
Grid running on a TV and then running on a tablet.
server.
And now the streaming
From the server to a tablet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the streaming portion is part of the GeForce experience, which we talked about.
Hold on. The streaming
Only-
part of Nvidia
Yeah.
Grid is separate
Yeah, no, only from streaming from your PC to
to the
Shield.
the LAN
is
streaming.
a portion of the
It will
GeForce
be a portion of the
experience.
GeForce experience. So that's a piece of software you're going to have installed on your desktop.
Yeah, that's-
which is fine. It makes sense. You're going to have something installed on.
That's
there anyway.
actually what they kicked it off with, and it sort of fell a little flat, right? Because that wasn't that the
It's-
first thing they talked about.
Oh, yeah.
They acted like we didn't know about it when we've known about it. I mean, it's been
Synthetic
covered.
Grid. Yeah,
It's just a piece of software that is supposed to optimize the settings for all your games.
It's a great idea. Like.
If it works, it'll be
it's,
awesome.
It's a great idea. I think it's hard to present it to an audience of people that listen to our show and read our site without saying, "Hey, dummy,
right.
you're too stupid to know what SSAO is."
Yeah.
so we're gonna tell you whether or not you can turn
But
it on or not.
I
And
think-
I'm fine with that.
I
but
think a
it's hard to give it to somebody who is an enthusiast.
I think a decent point out of that is you do have people that just fire up the game and never bother messing with the settings. That does
Yeah,
exist.
but
I'm
is
guilty
that
of that.
person going to download a
not-
separate piece of
You're
software?
not
I
gonna,
guess it
you're
could
not
be
gonna have a
bundled.
choice soon.
Yeah, it could
No, they
just
said
be
they were
posted
gonna bundle
together.
it with the driver.
It will be everything.
Yeah.
They did say that.
It will be the thing you install when you get your graphics card, and that's how you get your drivers.
Yeah.
That's how you get.
So,
Yeah, fair
so
enough.
if something
And stuff.
pops up the first time a user just installs his driver and it says, "Hey, do you want us to optimize your games for you?" and they just click yes, well then from that point forward,
I
their
think
stuff
it's
is a lot
fine.
better.
I don't have a problem with GeForce Experience at all. I think it's going to be great because you could still have the ability to go in and adjust things after the fact. To me, I actually would find it useful for, okay, NVIDIA, what do you think my settings should be? And
Yeah.
then I'll
Use it
go
as a
in and
baseline.
adjust it from there, right?
To your
to
preference.
wherever I want to, whatever I want it to be.
Yeah.
But back to the Shield, it's after the press conference, everybody came up to me. So what do you think? What do you think? And I don't know quite yet what I think, and I don't know. I've seen people who have already declared it a world-changing event in the
It's a revolution
in the
your
gaming
pants. Yeah.
in the gaming medium.
Maybe not so much.
And I think that's the kind of mentality that really screws things up because they've introduced a great idea, but you have no idea about their implementation.
Yeah.
And not only it failed miserably on stage when the demo was supposed to start.
Yeah.
Right. Like it took a good 5 minutes
For the PC thing. For the link to the PC.
That's the cool thing.
That's the cool thing about it. That's the
If
main
it was
part I
just
like it.
if it's just an Android tablet type thing with a flip up screen, it'd be who cares?
Well, I don't know. There's a lot of other stuff to that thing, though. It plays the Android games, which hopefully will take off a little now with the Tegra 4 stuff.
Having it could standardize a controller set for Android games, which would be nice.
Okay.
The
so
problem
it can do that.
is if you're gonna. We had this conversation on the cab right back. If you're a person who's going to play an Android game or an iOS game, for that matter, you're not the same person that's going to carry around an extra device to do it.
True, but it will play them.
Yeah, but
Right.
that's
So it does
it's not a
that.
selling point to me.
Well,
like
I don't know.
If I wanted to play an Android game, I would
don't
play it on
know.
my phone. There's a reason why mobile game consoles are dying.
But wait, there's more to that statement, though. So it plays the Android stuff. Mm-hmm. When you're home, it plays the stuff off of your PC.
Yes, I know.
If you're not home, it plays the stuff off of the grid.
No,
Well,
Yes.
it could.
it could.
But they haven't done that yet.
Keep in mind, Nvidia Grid is not a service.
It is.
Nvidia Grid is technology they will sell to people who will
Yeah.
create services.
So you can
And
play
in theory,
stuff off of that.
you could do that with any device.
True.
Right. The whole idea of Grid is that it would be to any device, and that's kind of my problem. That's not my problem, but with the Shield, they demoed playing PC games on an Android device at the GPU Technology Conference using Splashtop.
Yes.
Okay, they had an Asus tablet with a USB port, and they hooked up an Xbox controller to it, and you could play a PC game on it.
Okay.
They didn't talk about that.
Because they're trying to replace it.
They're trying to replace it, right? And it's not the PC gaming technology will not work on any Android device. It will only work on Shield,
Okay.
and that kind of sucks.
Yeah, that's a mistake.
It seems like if Shield comes out and doesn't do that well, they'll backpedal on that pretty quickly and make it Tegra 4 devices.
yeah.
Kind of like SLI on AMD chipsets.
Well, that wasn't quickly.
That was not quickly.
That'll
but
be their next reveal.
It eventually
and
happened.
They'll act like it's, some brand new thing.
Maybe if they get a lot of Tegra 4 design wins and people start. But I mean, then they'll have this hardware business, which they're pretty invested in at this point.
It would
Yeah.
seem that way. But Ken brought up an interesting point when we were, excuse me, coming back to the hotel was they could. If they didn't require you to have Shield, they only required you to have a Tegra 4 based tablet or phone. That'd be fine.
Yep.
You have to have a GeForce in your desktop.
Yeah.
You have to have Tegra on your mobile device.
Yep.
I mean,
They're still selling stuff.
They might have really small margins on the hardware with the Shield, but they probably don't really care at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to have to sell it really cheaply.
You never know. They might be going for higher margins on this, trying to replace game consoles, or thinking that they're going to.
I don't think they're that stupid.
I think it should be plainly obvious to anybody that
Because they tried that at the end.
NVIDIA is
They
not
were-
in any of the next generation gaming consoles at this point.
Yeah.
They're trying desperately to do everything
To
they can
replace game
kill
consoles.
Oh, yeah.
gaming consoles with Grid.
But like
and
the
with-
second
with
to the last
Shield.
slide in that thing was they were trying to show that it's like sort of better than
Yeah.
Xbox or Wii.
That's better be pie in the sky stuff.
Just saying.
I don't know. I think it's really interesting.
Totally
You're gonna have to
unexpected.
find out a whole lot more information.
Tomorrow I get a grand total of 30 minutes with it.
Ooh.
And I'm
Bring
gonna
the screwdriver.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, are you guys leaving for a minute? I'm gonna.
I'll field
We're gonna
strip it
ask
while they're not looking.
them the obvious questions. What's it gonna cost, and when's it gonna come out? And they're gonna say we're not talking about any of those things yet. So I'll figure out what other questions we might have because I don't know. You know, I want to feel it. We'll see what the build quality is like. See what the gaming.
That's the
stuff like.
That's the biggest question at this point because the latency stuff it will probably depend on your personal setups and your personal network, and there'll be so many variables
on
there.
your internal wireless network would be fine.
Yeah, it should be fine, but like all that stuff will depend on your home network. So your mileage will vary.
My
However,
wife is streaming home and garden networking at 1080p resolution, so she's taking it all the way back.
Yeah, I mean,
Now I can't play games.
Even the worst, like 802.11g
in theory,
network will have more than enough bandwidth for that, and latency inside that's going to be under.
But what I'm saying is like,
Well, it's going to be under 30 millisecond round trip, 30 to 40.
yeah,
that high?
Well, I mean, wireless is usually
Is it really?
about 5 milliseconds to ping wherever you're going to.
All right.
and
And then
latency on
internal.
the display.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, the hardware. It's. I wouldn't be surprised if when this comes out we saw a different piece of hardware.
Really?
It doesn't look like a polished design.
It doesn't
to
feel
me.
like it's its final name either.
No, it's definitely not that. There's no way.
They said they called it Thor at first.
I guess that was their.
That was a mistake. I think
code
that
name.
might have been the code name originally. But they
Yeah.
couldn't actually use it as a product name.
And we're
Whoops.
announcing Thor. Oh wait, you mean
damn it. Shield.
I mean Shield.
The biggest announcement we have of the night, and no, not so much.
Stutter steps it. I don't know. I don't want to talk too much about it, good or bad, until that hands-on time.
Yeah,
And
Really
beyond.
say-
Yeah.
and yeah,
it's
'cause
going to be a long road.
It is.
It's not a product that's going to be out this month. It's probably not even going to be out the first half of this year.
I don't know if it may make it for the
There's
holidays.
a whole lot of steps
Let's
to
put it
get
this way.
manufacturing going.
Tegra 4 just got announced. This is the first product announced on it. The only thing they've said is that we will be shipping Tegra 4 products this year, right?
It's got to be the launch device. For
They have
Tegra
their
4,
own
though,
product.
right?
They have their own product that's going to use it. And if they're still not saying, "Oh, we'll have product shipping first half," then it's not going to be first half.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw it at next year's CES.
Maybe.
I think it could just slip.
I don't know. I think a lot of that will depend. I mean, I don't know on what people like us.
When there's a
actually say
where there's a
about
will,
it.
there's a way, I guess. But you know,
It's so weird. It was so weird. It was unexpected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
for sure.
yeah.
Oh, here I'm watching the Project Shield, Nvidia Project Shield.
And if you were not in the audience, you didn't realize how loud this was.
Yeah, they had the sound cranked.
Apparently, they put it in digital, and digital in France means really effing loud.
They, yeah, I don't know. I'm curious. I want to try it. It's a
It's
cool,
got
it's a cool animation
tune
video.
ports, man.
It's got what?
Tune ports.
Yeah, the
And
base
they, what did they say the battery life on it would be?
10 hours, I think.
5 to 10 hours.
5 to 10 hours.
Yeah.
which is a large range.
It looked like it had a lot of batteries in there. It looked like it had
What was it? 30 something watt hours.
38,
33 watt hours, I think.
something like that. Yeah.
If you look at the video, there's 3 batteries and they each say 3,900 milliamp hours.
Something like that.
I got nothing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
Decent amount of juice for something.
Yeah. Especially since it's just video decoding and network transfer.
except if you're playing Android games, and then it's
Well,
But then it's just
CPU,
Tegra.
GPU. Yeah.
yeah.
Anyhow,
was there anything else that we saw today or talked about today that we need to address?
Ken's tears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a brief overview of what we're planning. Hopefully, we'll be able to see tomorrow is Asus, Samsung Storage,
Yep.
MSI. Intel has a briefing. We're going to get hands-on with the Shield. Thermaltake, AMD has their press conference. Corsair has a press conference, and Pepcom Digital Experience at the MGM Grand is there, and we'll see a lot of good companies there.
Yeah, at least Pepcom's so much better
Yeah.
than
It's a fun event.
Pepcom's good, and it's just the clientele there, the company clientele there is much more our
interesting.
speed, right? You'll find a lot more hardware companies, we'll find a lot of storage companies, we'll find networking companies.
And a lot less cable management headphone companies.
Right. They'll still be there.
Well, you know.
It's
You
like-
actually
yeah,
saw those guys?
yeah.
I saw the email from them. I was like, really?
yeah, not impressive.
Not the best thing ever.
So there was supposed to be an Asus press conference today, but it got canceled.
And not rescheduled.
Not rescheduled. Well, it's too late to do that at this point.
Yeah.
So we have a meeting with them at their suite, 9:30 tomorrow morning, 9:45 tomorrow morning, and it's
Sorry.
right now. So we're gonna end the podcast.
In
That's
7
a good
hours.
idea.
yeah.
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 So
To bed.
if you're one of the few people that was trying to watch us when we did this, we tried to record this live. I apologize, but
CES bandwidth, not so
yeah,
much.
bandwidth did not agree with us, and I don't. We'll try it again, maybe.
We'll see
but
what we can figure out.
But
you know.
I don't expect it to get any better as the week goes on, as
No,
more people
in fact, it
show
should
up.
Get worse.
Yeah.
It should. So make sure you're checking out pcpro.com/CES. That's where we're posting all the news stuff today. We probably had a good 10 to 15 posts up there today, and it
Yeah.
wasn't even a busy day. I guess a lot of that was Lenovo.
Yeah.
Yep.
The
They
massive
announced a
Lenovo
lot.
glut. But we should have. I'm sure we'll have a couple from
Little
Asus.
information on leaked Intel slides.
Oh yeah, we did post about what
Bay
Valley
Valley View
and Bay Trail.
So if you want to know about next gen Atom parts,
Atom
and that's
stuff.
actually good, better stuff. Sounds like it'll be better stuff.
We hope it'll be better stuff.
Posted that up there today. So we should have a few posts from Asus, from MSI, Intel Briefing, Thermaltake, AMD's press event. We'll see what they announce. I'm guessing it's going to be tablets. A little bit of that.
I'm not sure if Samsung is going to have anything new.
I mean, they only
Storage-wise.
just released 840.
With the 840 and 840 Pro so recent, yeah, I'd be curious to see what they're even going to show or talk about. But we'll know tomorrow.
We
Maybe
will.
they'll have the 842 Extreme.
Oh no.
I hope so. I hope so. I'll give you a Assassin's Creed 3 pack in or something with it as well. All right, everybody. We will talk to you later. Thanks for hanging out. This has been CES Day 1.
Good night.